Hi, my name is Pat Cavanaugh. I'm the general manager of the Covington News. And I have Gabe Cooley, who is the editor, and Sheriff Ezell Brown, who's our guest today. The sheriff also, who is running for re-election for sheriff of Newton County, is also one of the 3 constitutional officers of our county. So, Sheriff, without further ado, I'm going to just ask you to explain to the folks a little bit about yourself and, some of your background, and then we'll go on to ask you some really hard-hitting questions, okay?
Good. Thanks, Pat. Good morning. And good morning to the viewers also. My name is Ezell Brown, Sheriff of Newton County. The last 39 years I have been a law enforcement officer with the Newton County community. Started my career in 1972 with the Covington Police Department and later moved to the Newton County Sheriff's Office in 1977. I worked my way from a deputy sheriff all the way up to the position of captain prior to being elected as sheriff of this great county. I'm a graduate of Washington High School. I'm also a graduate of Albany Tech. Also a graduate of University of Georgia Police Academy, many classes through the Carl Vinson Institute. I hold a dual certification in law enforcement and also arson investigation, as well as a certification under the firefighter standards. I hold 22 years with the SWAT elite team, the longest serving SWAT officer in the history of Newton County. I also have completed one of the most prestigious professional management courses, and this was with Columbus State University. With all of that said, I have an extensive background in management. We've owned a family-owned business for the last 36 years. Also, I am the financial officer for my church, which I manage and oversee all of the funds and finances of the church. So I'm well adapted to finance. I'm very responsible for my own finances as well as other finances, and most of all, very frugal when it comes to the finances of the taxpayers of Newton County. Again, I'm Ezell Brown, and I am, for the last 3.5 to 4 years, I have been your sheriff here in this great county of Newton.
Sheriff, in your first term, in your first 4 years of being sheriff of our county, what can you say, and what would you feel would be your major accomplishment that you did, and what would you say, not disappointment, but would you say there's something that maybe you haven't accomplished yet that you'd like to accomplish in another term?
Well, Pat, good question. Just a few days ago, I was speaking with a group, and I mentioned that I've had more than some 20 plus accomplishments with all of the 250 plus employees there at the Newton County Sheriff's Office. And each and every time I speak about the Newton County Sheriff's Office, I have to include those employees because I realize that I could not and I did not do it alone. When you talk about the accomplishment, again, we have some 20 plus accomplishments over the past 3 years rather. I think when you think of those accomplishments, it's to put it in a perspective of percentage, to put it in a group of ABC, or however you would like to put it, is very difficult. I am very proud of each and every one of the accomplishments that we have accomplished over the past 3.5 years. However, I must say that being a part of county government, being able to lead the Newton County Sheriff's Office and work closely with the Board of Commissioners through one of the most financial difficulties in the history of Newton County. And I think leading that I think it put us in the forefront. And not only the reason why I said it is because the Newton County Sheriff's Office, there's 159 sheriffs in the state of Georgia. Newton County Sheriff's Office happened to be one of the sheriffs to represent the Georgia Sheriff's Association in an international forum, and the purpose of going there was to talk about the implications that Georgia sheriffs face as a result of economic downturn. They looked at those things we had implemented over the past 3.5 years of how we were able to maintain and deliver the level of service that we were able to deliver in spite of an almost $3 million deficit. So that alone in itself, I would say, would be a major accomplishment with the certification that we just obtained here just recently. I think the major disappointment is, and this is kind of sensitive when I say the major disappointment, is that when we end up having to lay off 25 employees, even working with the Board of Commissioners and taking a 14% cut. I think the most difficult time for me, Pat, when I had an employee to come into my office, sit at my desk, and share with me the financial difficulties they were experiencing at one of the should be most celebrated times of their life. This was at the Christmas time, and one of the employees sat at my desk and shared with them they could not buy their kids Christmas, that their lights had been turned off at one of the coldest points during the season. That was one of my most difficult times to sit and to see an employee, a deputy sheriff of Newton County, tell me that they could not pay their light bill, they could not buy toys for their kids. And the list goes on. And we've had many others to lose home as a result of this. And it's all over the world, not just Newton County, but to say that was one of the most depressing moments for me.
I mean, it's just like running a business. It's like we have to run a business and deal with the same things. You have to deal with the same things with your employees. Okay?
Sure. Sheriff, obviously you touched on the budget, which has been a struggle for every department, the Sheriff's Office being one of the largest, or being the largest single department and taking over half the budget. Obviously you guys were hit particularly hard these past several years. Your opponent, Captain Bradford, said in a primary forum that it's kind of a secret, was the words he used, what happens with money at the Sheriff's Office. Just wanted you to respond to that statement and give your take on that.
Well, I think, and with all honesty, I think, well, I know Captain Bradford was shooting first and then aiming later. He had no facts. He was only making, I would say, a stump speech without any, I'll put it this way, there's no secret going on with the budget of the Newton County Sheriff's Office. The budget is a matter of public records. Budget is a matter of public records, and we, as a matter of fact, I have the budget here with me, and it is open to any concerned citizen. You know as well as I do, if there was something, a secret or something persnickety going on with the budget, that would be an investigation, and I would expect for it to be an investigation. We have operated a transparent organization from day one. We have nothing to hide. And I challenge Captain Bradford, if there is something persnickety, if there is a secret, find it for the citizens of Newton County. When you're desperate, you're subject to say anything. And he's desperate. He does not have anything to run on. Throughout the campaign, it was a bashing campaign. It was about lack of leadership. When you start to talk about leadership again, I have more than, along with those employees at the Sheriff's Office, and you will hear me say most times that it's inclusion, not exclusion. I cannot be where I am today without the 250 plus employees there at the Newton County Sheriff's Office. I challenge Captain Bradford to bring whatever information he holds, bring it forth, show it to the citizens of Newton County, and let's stop the lack of leadership.
Sure. Sheriff, on the, speaking of the budget, and a major part of the budget is the jail.
That's correct.
Yeah, correct on that. And you know, a lot of what happens in the jail is controlled by state policies more than local. Am I right on that?
Well, not only is it controlled by state policies, and I think this goes again, and this is what set Captain Bradford and myself apart, is because working with the Sheriff's Office for more than 35 plus years, I know the responsibilities of the Office of Sheriff. where he failed to know there are many mandates, many requirements that a sheriff is responsible for handling. Number one, we're the only jail in the county. We house inmates from every local municipality. One thing we have, other words, everything there at the jail is controlled by numbers and is uncontrollable by, regardless of the manager, it's uncontrollable. Give you a prime example. We can have one cooling tower in which we had a cooling tower to go down. That's $500,000. Those are funds that you cannot factor in. We have inmates. As of today, we have 120 plus state inmates that are housed at the Newton County Sheriff's Office. Each and every one of those inmates cost us $45 a day. Now, we only receive $25 a day from the state on housing those inmates. So when you look at that, I think if you take it and do the math, 120 plus time 20, that's a substantial amount of money that we're actually losing as a result of that. But we're mandated, according to OCGA, we have to follow the rules.
So that comes out, when you have to do that, and when something like a tower or whatever happens out there that obviously you don't plan on a budget for, except a little bit, you don't expect a major thing. So to take care of our jail, which we have in Newton County, I mean, that you inherit as part of being the sheriff of our county. So when you have to pay extra money to that comes out of what can be spent for the people of Newton County? Does that come out of the same type of budget? Can you explain that a little bit? Okay, I mean, do we suffer because of that in the county, or is that a clear question? Okay.
Of course, we all suffer when we have emergencies such as that. It's unpredictable. We've had many emergencies during the course of the year, not only just mechanical emergencies, but we have had emergencies such as illness. You cannot project, you cannot put out there in a budget that you would suspect an individual that's going to come in with some type of major illness. We had one just here recently. We spent more than $250,000 on this individual, but we could not turn him away. He was charged with a major felon. He was one of those individuals that we could not put out on leg monitors. As a matter of fact, we implemented the leg monitors, and we implemented the leg monitors as a result of an inmate who was faced with major illness, and it was going to cost the taxpayers of this great county more than $500,000. We worked with the courts. I worked with Judge Ott. Judge Ott and we formed a bond where the judge indicated that anytime we can release a nonviolent individual, and that we can implement this leg monitoring system, it is advantageous to us as leaders, also good for the taxpayers. We ended up releasing this individual who would have cost us more than $500,000. We released them at $6 a day. And just to give you some numbers, on that one person, we saved more than $500,000. Just this past year, we saved more than $500,000 in illness by releasing those individuals out on leg monitors.
Before they have to go through the whole course or whatever they have.
Before they have to go through the whole course.
Well, does that? But I guess, Sheriff, then that's part of that. But I mean, does that directly? In other words, if like your opponent has said that, like the city police cars all have televisions and state of the art, and some of the sheriff's cars do not, and blah blah blah, that type of situation. Is that because of what the jail? I mean, that takes directly out of what we can do with these things, or what's your thought on that?
My thought on this, I think, I know, when you look at, it's the lack of understanding, it's the lack of knowledge on my opponent's side. It's just like comparing apples and oranges. They may have 14 cars in the city of Covington. We have 200 plus vehicles in the county. Most of our vehicles that are out involved in traffic, out involved in the crime suppression unit, we have those very same cameras that he's talking about. We have those cameras in our vehicles. We have computers in our vehicles. And I think, again, this is where Bradford is shooting first, aiming later. We have technology. As a matter of fact, we just put in a crime analyst system there. It's an intelligence-based operation where we are able, and we've been successful so far, to crack down on various crimes throughout the county. So we have as much, if not more, technology than the city of Covington. Again, when you compare 14 cars plus 200 plus cars, if they have 14 cameras and we have 30 cameras, then what does that mean?
Okay.
It's no comparison.
Yes, sir.
It's just like apples and oranges.
Okay.
Fair enough. Sheriff, in 2008, you ran on a platform focusing on the issues of drugs, sex, and violence. Captain Bradford has said he wants to fight a tougher war on drugs and perform more warranted traffic stops, hoping the added benefit is the stopping of more crimes. It's kind of a two-part question. How do you feel that you've carried out your mission, and what's your response to Captain Bradford's statement saying that he wants to fight a tougher war on drugs, which is one of the things that you really that you wanted to focus on during your first term?
I think, and I know, that Newton County as a whole much better off today as a result of the Newton County Sheriff's Office. We have fought the drug trade in Newton County, and we have fought it very hard. We've fought it very fair. And I think it's fair to the point that if you would travel throughout the county, you will notice the difference in those areas where we once had drug-ridden areas in the community. I think Captain Bradford's biggest problem is inside of the city limits of Covington. There are many areas in the city limits of Covington where the crime suppression unit at the Newton County Sheriff's Office have to go in from time to time to bring peace and calm to the citizens of the city limits of Covington. And I understand that these individuals, even though they may live in the municipalities, they are still deserving citizens who deserve to be served and protected at all times. Now, when Captain Bradford talking about being more, every time you look up, you're going to see a car stop. When I say a car, meaning a deputy stopping a car, to me, that's profiling. You must have probable cause at all times. That's profiling. And never once have we ventured off into profiling. And that is one of the reasons why this community is so much better, because of the fact that we have bridged that gap between the sheriff's office and between the community. We have bridged that gap. And you will not see that between the Captain Bradford department and our department. It's different. We stand apart because of that. When you look at the violence in Newton County, we have cut major crime down by 90%. We've cut it by 90%. We had 10 homicides a year, an average 10 or more a year prior to taking office. When I can say we have honestly cut that down to 1 homicide a year, we have changed the tone of this community. This community embraced the sheriff's office. It embraced the leadership that we're providing. We can go into any community in the county and we're welcome there without a hostile environment. It's a difference in being hard, being fair, and administering the appropriate action. And that's what we're done. I think, as a matter of fact, Captain Bradford, if he would be truthful about some things, when he was there at the drug enforcement unit that we have together, and I think one citizen put it so eloquent. If he was doing a great job there, why did he leave? But when you look at those stats, under Sheriff Nichols, he had 100+ cases. When I took over, the cases reduced to in the neighborhood of 60, and I think that was an effort to neglect his fundamental duties to try to promote his political gain. So he's no longer over there. But the community itself is much better because of the Newton County Sheriff's Office, because of the Crime Suppression Unit. It is a complaint-driven unit. Go through any parts of the city of Covington and they will tell you, those guys that wear the green with the Newton County Sheriff's Office, they have made a change in this community. So all of those, everything that I put out there as far as my platform, we have accomplished that. As a community, we have accomplished it as a department. So, and if you look at Captain Bradford's platform, look at it real close, and you will see that it mirrors every accomplishment that we have accomplished. And obviously, for the last 3.5 years, he has been blind or he's been too busy trying to build his political game. Look at the statement speak for itself. Look at his platform and look at my platform, and you will see everything that the Newton County Sheriff's Office has accomplished in the last 3.5 to 4 years mirror what he's saying that he's attempting to do, and we have already achieved that goal.
Very quick follow-up on that. So going back to one of his core points, if he wants to, and you said it could be profiling, of making more having deputies be more active on the roads, making more traffic stops for a wide variety of violations. Basically, just to be clear on that point, you feel that your deputies are doing what they're supposed to be doing on the roads, that to do any more would perhaps cross a line if they were actively going out there trying to do more of those kind of things.
We have seasonal, we have experienced, and we have mature deputies that are on the road that are following the letter of the law and not harassing the general public or those individuals who travel through Newton County. They are doing exactly what they are supposed to do, and that's my feelings on it.
Sheriff, and you and I have had discussions on this, the western part of our county obviously grew tremendously over the last couple of years. It's almost like having two parts of our county. And you know, one of the problem areas that we've had is out in the western major, up around Brown Bridge Road, Salem. What is that community called? The
Silos?
The silos. We've had, you know, major problems. You had major problems when you took over this office there. I think I'm correct on that. But anyhow, that all leads into the point I'm trying to make. What are you working on, and what do you see as the future of what your department can do to bridge and bring together, you know, the western and the rest of Newton County kind of as a cohesive unit as we go into the future with Baxter and all these other different companies coming in, that we need to be a complete community?
Pat, I think I know that we have already made major steps and we've made major improvements in the silos. I'll give you a prime example. When I was seeking the office 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, yes, the community was a community that was going downhill. I went into the community. I gained the respect from the community. I gave them respect in turns. We shared with one another. I told the community, if you, and believe me, I never believed that a community can be taken by a criminal. We own that community. Taxpayers own that community. No criminal owns a community. And that's what I shared with this community. As of today, we have built a cohesive neighborhood watch program. As a matter of fact, we were out there just on this past Saturday. We were out there at least twice a month in that community. The Silos is one of the better, it's a great neighborhood now. It's one of those neighborhoods, Pat, most officers, even when I go to the neighborhood in the Silos, I walk the neighborhood with those residents. I never feel in harm's way. It is a great community. They take pride of that community. And when you talk about, and that's one of the areas that I feel that we have bridged that gap between the community and the sheriff's office. When you talk about the western side of town, you know, 2/3 of the citizens of Newton County lives on the western side of town. So I think when we turn and we look at crime per capita, and we do it quite often, if you put the numbers together, the west side is no different from any other part of the community. It's just more populated, and it's just like an analogy I used just a few days ago in talking to someone. If you take a household and you have a mom and dad and one child, and you compare it against a mom and dad and 8 kids, then which one is going to use the most water? Which one is going to use the most electricity? The one with the 8.
Sure.
So that's what we're faced with 2/3 of the population being on the west side. But however, we have implemented a west side precinct. The west side precinct means that doesn't mean that we have most of our crime on the west side. It just means that because of the highly populated area, we get the calls to the citizens from there because of the population. Now, the precinct is going to, I think it's going to work in many ways.
Is this the one on Salem Road,
This is the
Sheriff?
one on
You just
Salem, right.
that just started. You just started last week.
Right. This is the precinct on Salem Road. This precinct is going to be good for physical presence. It's going to also be good for the citizens to come in and make incident reports, file complaints, pick up accident reports. Also, it's going to give officers the opportunity, instead of having to drive back into Covington to meet with an individual, they can do it on the west side here. So it's going to, and I think with this, the concept of putting this precinct out there, I think it's going to be the future growth for the whole county government to move with bringing services to the west side of the city. And it's going to save us in many ways. It's a reduce of traffic. You know, you have the reduction in traffic. Citizens having to drive 15 miles over to the sheriff's office just to retrieve a report. So save on the wear and tear on the roads. It's just a plus for all of us. Every citizen, it's a plus for everyone.
Sure.
Let's move into the questions from your opponent, Captain Bradford. We gave each candidate a chance to ask 3 questions of their opponent. Captain Bradford sent me 3. I'm going to read them as close to verbatim as I can. The first question he asked had to deal with the level 3 bulletproof vests. His statement was, in August of 2009, 2 Newton County deputies were shot in the line of duty. A community-wide effort by citizens, business owners, and civic groups was started to raise money to purchase level 3 bulletproof vests for deputies. A grant was also received in the amount of $57,000 at one point. The goal was to raise $113,000, and more than that was actually raised, Captain Bradford said. The first quick question with that was all the money that was raised for purchasing those vests used to purchase the vest?
The money was used to purchase the vests for the deputies. The books are open. Again, Bradford, again, he's shooting and aiming later. I welcome anyone to visit the sheriff's office to review the books. We have nothing to hide. The vests, we conferred with the company, which we felt that the vest that we purchased was the vest of choice. And we had a team of ballistic experts. We have a team of range masters who reviewed all of the stats on these vests, and we moved forward. Again, we even secured grants. We secured grants to fulfill our obligations to not only just furnish 40+ vests. We were able to provide vests for each and every certified officer there at the Newton County Sheriff's Office, to include those deputies who are in harm's way in the detention center, those deputies who are in harm's way at court services, those deputies who are in harm's way in the civil division, again, Bradford shooting first, aiming later.
The second part of that, because that was just a yes or no question, but you went on to explain, which makes sense. The second part of that was he provided a form that said, and he asked, why did deputies have to sign a form not to discuss the VEST project related to that? He provided a form that I guess, and if I recollect, that said essentially deputies will not discuss the level of vest they're wearing or the VEST project.
Again, this lack of knowledge, lack of experience, lack of maturity. I am not going to give a potential bad guy an upper hand on what my officers are wearing for many reasons. And I think you can understand that yourself.
Sure.
So you just basically, Sheriff, in other words, you had them sign, they did sign a form, but they weren't to discuss what was in this vest.
Right.
And how that was off.
Right.
Okay.
The level
Okay.
of the vest. And that's for their protection.
Okay.
That's for their protection.
Okay.
Again, Bradford shooting first, aiming later.
It wasn't for the implication that would be implied by this, that you did that because you didn't want them to discuss what you spent and things like that. You did it for the safety of the officer.
For the safety of the
Okay.
officers. For
Okay.
the safety of the officers. Right. It's irrelevant as far as how much we spent. The safety of the officers mean more. Again, what set us apart again? I understand cost, but most of all, I understand value. There is, regardless of whether I spend $6,000 on a vest, that's the cost. The value is I cannot pay $6,000 and replace the life of one of my deputies. That's the difference in us. I know cost, sure, plus I know value. And the value to me is for the officers to sign the document stating what we had requested.
Okay.
His second question, and again, just reading from his statement. In two separate forums before the primary, you stated that after being cut almost $3 million from your budget and losing 25 positions, you were able to come in at only $106,000 over budget. He wrote, you are quoted as saying that your work on the budget was good fiscal responsibility, expert responsibility. Open records show that $1.4 million had to be moved from the budget county reserve fund to fund your budget, and he wrote that you were still $617,000 over budget during the period. And his question was, where did you get the $106,000 total? Feel free to address the entire statement that he had.
Okay. Again, Bradford is speaking from lack of experience, shooting again first, aiming later. The 106 $1.6 million.
Oh, the 1.4 million.
1.4 million. If you would go back and look at the records, I believe the 1.4 million was monies that was borrowed by the county in order to continue a cash flow. I don't think it had anything to do with the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Okay. Now, again, addressing the budget deficit. Now, again, yes, we had the 25 employees. Again, we lost, that's when we had 14% straight across the board cut. Again, I addressed that to the board. I realized the financial difficulties that the taxpayers as well as county government was going through. The 14% cut straight across the board, meaning that we happen to be the largest employee of the county government. Does it mean that it was fair that you would take 14% from my budget? Does it mean that it would be just as fair as 14% from the probate court, the clerk of court, whereas if you compile all of those departments together, 14% will not add up to my 14%. So it may have been fair, but was it the right thing to do? But we accepted it as the right thing to do because of the fact that we knew that the revenue for this county was low. Now, getting back to the budget, and I think what happened with this, again, Bradford shooting first, aiming later. I think what he was looking at, instead of looking at the actual, once the revenue was applied to the end of the year budget, that year was 116. The following year, it was 103. This past year, it was 26,000. So over the, and one of the things he did not mention was the fact that was a $240,000 cost for the taxpayers for those 4 years or 3 years. It was $240,000 cost that it cost the taxpayers to continue to deliver the level of service that we provided. However, he failed to mention that I saved, or we saved 200, not 200, but we saved more than actually be $9 million. Because when you take it and you look at 2.5 times 3, how much is that?
7.5.
That's 7.5, so you're going over the next to be $8 million that we actually saved.
Okay. So when he said, where did you get the $106,000 total, you're saying that I think you mentioned 2 years, that was around the total that you were over. You said it was just a 106, that was just around 100,000 over.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And I think the records speak for itself. As a matter of fact, I have the records here, and it's a matter of public records. And I think what he ended up doing, he ended up looking at or getting information, or again, he was shooting before he started to aim. He was just talking without knowledge, or he was talking to someone who lack of being informed. We ended up, my numbers come from at the end of the year, we apply all of the revenue, and then quite naturally, the revenue come from when citizens come in. We print paper, not only print paper, we do fingerprints. There's a number of things we generate that revenue, inmates. And when we apply all of this at the end of the year, then it reduces either the overage or it adds to money that will go back to the county.
Sheriff, do fines, just real quick in between this, I'm just curious on this.
Okay.
Like traffic fines and things like that, do they go into the sheriff's budget on revenue? Does that count as revenue?
We get a small percentage of that. It goes to the court system and also to other areas of the state.
Okay. The final question he had. In 2 separate forums, Captain Bradford stated that the school resource officers should have the proper training, skills, and SRO certifications to serve in our schools. Your response to Captain Bradford's statement was each and every one of those individuals are certified. This is what he's writing. In an open records request, it was found that you have 15 SROs with only 3 have the full proper SRO certification. This request also found that 9 of the 15 appeared to have only jail experience prior to being promoted to a school resource officer. And his official question was, why did you place 12 out of 15 deputies in the school who had not completed intense training on how to be a school resource officer?
To my knowledge, all of those school resource officers, they're certified deputy sheriffs, certified peace officers. They have gone to the proper schools for the school to become school resource officers. As a matter of fact, we have just this past year, just for the school resource officers alone, we had more than 600 hours, training hours, specifically just for the school resource officers. Overall, of the entire department, we had more than 20,000 hours of training. Where Bradford got his information from is unknown to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think he pulled some records. What is the full certification for a school resource officer, Sheriff? Do you know how many hours they're supposed to put in, and what the process is to become an SRO? If you don't offhand, that's not a big deal.
Offhand, I do not know the exact number of hours, but to my knowledge, and you can check our training staff, where he got this information from is unbeknown to me. I think what he needs to do is check our training hours there at the Newton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't, Gabe, and you know.
I think that's good. I think I know we've already taken up a lot of your time. Why don't we move into the closing question? And Sheriff, what we'll do is ask this and just let you kind of close us out with any statements that you want to make. But the question I'll lead into it with is, why do you feel that you're the better candidate for the job of sheriff, and why should people vote for you?
Thank you. Again, thank you, Pat. Thank you, Gabe. And thanks to the students, and thanks to the citizens who will view this at a later date. Number one, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I am the most qualified person to be sheriff of this great county. I have proven it over the past, not only just the past 3.5 to 4 years, but I've proven it over the last 39 years of being here in Newton County. I am a proven leader. I lead by inclusion, not exclusion. I am more than qualified. I'm the mature candidate who can go out and deal directly with the community. I know how to bridge the gap between the community and the sheriff's office, or law enforcement in general. Lieutenant Bill Watterson, who is a candidate for the office of sheriff on the Republican ticket. Bill Watterson endorsed me. Bill Watterson endorsed me not because of the fact that I'm a Democrat, not because of the fact that he's endorsing me against a Republican. Bill Watterson endorsed me for the fact of knowing that I am the most qualified individual to lead this community. Bill said to me, and he's gone through 2 different campaigns, but at the end of this campaign, Bill realized that there should not be an I, an R, or D before or even after the name of sheriff, because he realized that the sheriff office is one of the most important offices there is in the community. The sheriff office is an office of integrity. I carry myself with integrity. It's the oldest office known to man in common law, and I respect that. I've been honest throughout my campaign. I've been honest in leadership. I've been honest in management. Nowhere along the way you will find where I have mismanaged finance, even in my personal life, my private life, and also my professional life here at the sheriff's office. You will see that I have been up and above board all of my life when it comes to finance. Can my opponents say that? That's yet to be answered. But to the citizens of Newton County, I ask you, vote on leadership, not to be concerned about partisanship, kinship, and friendship. Vote on leadership, and you have the best individual for the sheriff office of this great county. And as I say many times, if it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. I know the sheriff's office is not broken. Again, I want to thank you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, students. Thank you, Gabe, for this opportunity to share with the citizens of this great county. And we're looking forward to serving you another 4 years. Let's continue to work together.
Absolutely. And we'd like to thank the sheriff for that and invite everyone to vote November 6th or go to early voting, which starts October 15th. Again, thank you, Sheriff, for attending, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sheriff?